I wanted to talk about the significance of the number 9. There's a video that I came across about 6 months ago. It's called Vortex-Based Math and the 360-degree circle. And that talks about the interior angles of polygons in the circle and how everything revolves around 9. And I really recommend you guys search this video and watch it. It's really interesting. But I was doing some of my own little research on the subject, and it turns out 9 is just an incredible number. And if we look at the polygons alone, what we can see here is if we start with the interior sum of the angles, and we start with a triangle, we can begin to see the connections with the number 9. So we have an interior angle total of 180 degrees within the triangle. And when you add each individual unit of the number together, so the 1, the 8, and the 0, you're going to get 9. 1 plus 8 plus 0 equals 9. So when we increase the sides to 4 sides, there's 360 degrees in a square or any sort of four-sided polygon. So when you do that, whenever you add a side, you add 180 degrees. So we go 180. Now we're going to this 360 degrees. And when we add up 3 plus 6 plus 0, we get 9. And what's interesting also about the square is that it shares the same amount of degrees as the circle. And that may have been one of the key reasons and significance behind the entire squaring the circle mindset that existed thousands of years ago, that people were obsessed with figuring out how to square the circle. So if we continue onwards and increase 180 degrees, we get the pentagon. 5 plus 4 plus 0 equals 9. We can continue this infinitely, I believe. And if once we get to what I found was interesting, when we get to 13-sided polygon, instead of getting 9, we get 18. So we get 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0 is going to give us 18. But then when you add 18 together, 1 plus 8, you get 9 again. And what's interesting is that with every other polygon up to 13, you're going to get 9 directly. But then you have this number 13, which is stereotypically the unlucky number. And that may be for other reasons as well, including the lunations of the year. You're going to typically have 12. And they would have 12 months of 30 days to give them a 360-day year. But every now and then the year would have a 13th month, and that was considered to be unlucky. And the Romans also had a calendar based off of 9. I think they call them the Nundines, and every 9th day would, I believe, would be some sort of non-market day where no one could trade. It was almost like a unlucky day or a holy day. And so this number 9 has been sacred, and it's also been sacred in China, and that's where it was most heavily. And if you followed my videos before, I maintain that civilization came from the Far East, and is not completely understood how that happened. There's some good books on the subject, such as Eden in the East. Or if you look at some of the work of Graham Hancock in his work with Underworld, where he talks about Yonaguni, he talks about Dwarka, and these underwater cities or temples that indicate civilization is much older than we currently understand. But if we continue on, we'll run into another 18 side, or another 18 on the 18-sided polygon, which is interesting. But then once again, that 18, when added together, the individual units gives us 9 once again. And this can continue on infinitely. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that when we go the other direction, we continue to get 9. So consider the right angle being related to the triangle, only it's missing an additional side. So it has two sides, and we're at 90 degrees, 9 plus 0. Now, if we continue to reduce that angle by 2, we're going to continue to keep getting the 9. So 4 plus 5, 22.5 gives us the 9. And we're going to keep getting that 9 until finally, as the numbers get smaller, we start getting the 18, which in itself adds to 9. And then we get 27, which adds to 9. And then we get 36, which adds to 9. 45 adds to 9. All these multiples of 9 continue to add to 9. This may just be a base 10 phenomenon. I don't know. Or it could be some sort of deeper insight into the universe itself and how it actually is structured, and how important this number actually is in this type of mathematics, which I didn't learn in school. I'm sure nobody has learned this in school. This is a phenomenon that's esoteric and is kept hidden, and I believe that it's something very deep in the understanding of mathematics that is is ignored, and I believe that this needs to be studied. There needs to be subjects on this matter alone, and a lot of the religions were based off of mathematics. The Egyptians were heavily involved with this, the Sumerians, and even the Pythagoreans in Greece, where Pythagoras learned from the Persians and the Egyptians. So he learned through oral tradition. And so a lot of these things weren't written down until the Greeks. And that doesn't mean that they weren't going on for thousands of years beforehand. So I just wanted to share that with you. I thought this was really interesting. And another thing I'd like to talk about real quick was when looking at the diameter of a circle, I saw some connections with some religious undertones in the word itself, and it reminded me of the goddess Demeter, who is the goddess of agriculture and at the time of harvest. And she was a pre-Olympian goddess, and they even talk about how the etymology of her name may come down to mean house or dome, which a dome is circular, and they have this annotation of pi, which stands for Proto-Indo-European, but there it's almost like we're being taunted with this word pi and her connection with the actual diameter. And so, but another goddess that you see etymologically in the word diameter is Diana. So you have Diana and Demeter. Diana was the goddess of the hunt, of virginity, and she was connected with the Arcadians, and I've talked about this in my previous video, where you have this bear worship and how the bear is that central point in the sky, in the north, around Polaris, in Ursa Minor and Ursa Major, and around them you have the zodiac, you have the animals, but that is the circle. And so you have these connections between with the religious connections to the mathematics, and I believe it has the deep meaning of the religions all come back to this mathematics, and their attempts to try and understand God, understand how the universe is actually made. And it was a very deep philosophical movement that was happening, that is to this day covered up even by our you know our current understanding of mathematics. It ignores these principles of the number 9, and how this shows some sort of deeper meaning. And we could get some really smart people, to base their whole lives and professions off of this. But unfortunately, I believe this is considered to be some sort of pseudo numerology, and isn't given much credence. So I think I really think there's something to this that needs to be looked into. And I just wanted to make this video perhaps just to get a little bit more awareness about the phenomenon of the number 9. All right, guys, take care.